For most people, when they hear the name John Dillinger, it brings to mind images of daring bank robberies and high-profile shootouts with law enforcement. While these were certainly a part of Dillinger's legacy, an aspect that is less discussed was his remarkable ability to escape from custody. Dillinger and his gang's crime spree was longer than it should have been, precisely because of his ability to break out of jail. On this episode of Tales from the Underworld, Dillinger's Escapes. Born in 1903 in Indianapolis, Indiana, John Dillinger's proclivity for trouble began early, when as an adolescent he led a local gang of thieves and troublemakers. His first serious brush with the law occurred in 1924, when he and an accomplice were convicted of assault with intent to rob, when the two robbed a local grocery store, during which Dillinger struck the store manager in the head with a heavy tool. Dillinger's father convinced him to plead guilty, believing that this would lead to a reduced sentencing, considering it was Dillinger's first time being convicted of a serious crime. However, Dillinger and his father were stunned and devastated when he was handed a sentence of 10 to 20 years in Indiana State Prison. Upon his arrival to prison, Dillinger was quoted as saying, "I will be the meanest bastard you ever saw when I get out of here." Over the next 9 years, Dillinger learned the ins and outs of crime and robbery. Social by nature, Dillinger made numerous connections with inmates who would later become the members of the Dillinger Gang. Some of these associates included hardened bank robbers like Harry Pierpont and Homer Van Meter, who would later become Dillinger Gang members. Van Meter schooled Dillinger on the art of planning heists. When John Dillinger entered prison in 1924, he was a wayward and rebellious young man. When he was finally paroled in 1933, he left prison a hardened criminal with a deep determination never to return. Almost immediately after his release, Dillinger began planning and committing bank robberies. Less than 4 months after his release, Dillinger had already robbed 2 banks in Ohio. He was tracked down and arrested and held at the Allen County Jail in Lima, Ohio. When he was searched after his arrest, police discovered a paper that appeared to be a prison escape plan. He was questioned about the suspicious document, but refused to cooperate. Unbeknownst to authorities in Lima, shortly before his arrest, Dillinger had helped to smuggle weapons into Indiana State Prison, which allowed several of his associates, including Harry Pierpont, to overpower the guards and escape. Now, Dillinger's buddies were looking to repay the favor. The escaped convicts then traveled to the jailhouse in Lima to free Dillinger. They claimed to be Indiana State troopers there to extradite Dillinger to Indiana. When Sheriff Jess Sarber asked for identification, Pierpont shot and killed him. The gang then fled to Indiana. The gang then went on a crime spree, robbing banks throughout the Midwest. During this time, several law enforcement officers were killed or wounded. During one robbery in East Chicago, Indiana, a police officer named Patrick O'Malley was killed during a shootout with Dillinger and his gang. Dillinger then went on the run before meeting up with gang members in Tucson, Arizona. Unfortunately for them, a fire broke out in the hotel that some of the gang were staying in, and when firefighters arrived, they recognized the wanted fugitives. Soon, the whole gang was rounded up and arrested. Pierpont was extradited to Ohio to face charges for the murder of Sheriff Sarber. Dillinger was extradited to Indiana to face charges for the murder of Officer O'Malley. While there, Dillinger played the role of the easygoing prisoner. He even smiled and posed for reporters with Lake County Sheriff Lillian Holly, who had boasted that her jail could keep Dillinger because it was, quote, escape-proof. He grinned and posed with prosecutors and sheriff's officers. While locked up, Dillinger was friendly towards the guards and even volunteered to do the disgusting tasks that no one else wanted to do. He had lulled them into a false sense of security. Then, on the morning of March 3rd, 1934, as inmates were preparing for morning exercises, Dillinger produced a pistol and took one of the jail employees hostage. The Dillinger legend has always maintained that he carved a fake gun from a piece of wood and blackened it with shoe polish, though there has been debate as to whether or not Dillinger was slipped a real gun. Regardless of whether the gun was real or fake, it was convincing enough for Dillinger and two other inmates to make it to the warden's office with their hostage. Once there, Dillinger retrieved another gun and the three inmates left the jail. To add further embarrassment, Dillinger and company then stole the sheriff's personal vehicle from a garage directly attached to the jail. The three men then headed for Illinois. After his legendary escape from the Crown Point Jail, Dillinger continued his criminal ways, forming the second version of the Dillinger Gang and robbing several more banks. He was nearly killed or captured on several occasions after shootouts with federal agents. Dillinger then hid out in Chicago, where he underwent plastic surgery on his face to disguise his appearance. Despite this, federal agents were tipped off by a woman who Dillinger was staying with. She agreed to set him up, and on July 22, 1934, after leaving the Chicago movie theater, Dillinger was shot in the back and killed by federal agents. He was 31 years old.
Thanks for listening to Tales from the Underworld. If you're fascinated by the stories we uncover, make sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. For even more exclusive content, head over to our website at talesfromtheunderworld.com and subscribe to our newsletter. You'll get insider access to deeper case details, early updates on new episodes, and more true crime content sent straight to your inbox. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay out of the shadows.